Welcome to Gimmicks, a podcast about the high-concept, experimental, structure-breaking gimmick episodes of TV, from musicals to bottle episodes to a Q&A session that isn't an actual episode of TV at all. I'm Derek B. Gale, and who's with you today?
Hey, Derek, it's David Arnold.
Hello, David.
Hi, Derek.
Hi. How do we even start this? I don't know.
Well, we asked for some cues. You gave them to us, and now we've got A's up the wazoo.
Yeah, we do have many A's. I mean, the reason we're doing this right now, there is a particular reason.
I heard about this, I think.
So
is the reason that I'm joining you now as the permanent co-host to Gimmicks?
Yeah, thanks for that beautiful transition. That was so elegant.
Problem.
Yeah, I really set you up for that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you didn't listen to the last episode that came out before this, which is the Quantum Leap episode, which you should. It's a really, really good, really fun episode about a really bad episode of TV. So David is coming on as a permanent co-host of Gimmicks, like he said. So it's going to be the two of us on every episode going forward. And I'm sure that there are a couple of questions from that topic alone. The first being why, and the second probably what does that mean? Are you still going to do guests, blah, 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 blah. And I think the second question is the easier question. Yeah, we're still going to have guests on, and that really doesn't change the show at all. And we're still going to do every other week, and we're still going to tackle different TV shows, and we're still going to do gimmicky episodes of TV. It's just sometimes there will be a third or fourth guest. Sometimes there won't. Probably for at least a while, it's just going to be the two of us as we settle into this. But there's already guests that have been reached out to that we're like in the midst of potentially scheduling sometime in the future. So like, if you're listening to this and you're like, am I still going to be in your podcast? Yeah, absolutely. You're still going to be on at some point. But this just provides a little more stability, I think, for me personally, but also for the podcast as well. And I think is going to allow us to cover an even wider variety of things than we already had, because it's not dependent on finding a guest. We can just find whatever we want to cover and talk about it, whether we know a lot about it or love it or not.
Yeah, and I think this also opens us up to talk about episodes of television that are so bad we don't even want to subject one of our closest friends to having to go through them, but they need to be talked about because just like the Quantum Leap episode, there's some really, really, really wonderful gimmicks out there that are just encapsulated by some absolute garbage.
Yeah. And like, it's still going to be, I think, a pretty positive experience, right? Because I would like to sometimes find diamonds in the rough with that kind of stuff. So if it is something that like we really hate, we're still going to critically analyze it as much as we possibly can. But sometimes that is just really fun. And I think highlights how TV is good when you highlight when it is bad and doesn't execute things very well. Which isn't to say that like our whole schedule of episodes coming up next are like all the worst episodes of TV you've ever seen. It's more just like, it just is a thing that we can sort of do now that was hard to do with the guest unless someone specifically came, like, you know, Gavin came with that Quantum Leap episode, like kind of, we both knew it was sort of an infamous one. But like pretty much any other time, it's never really been the case. I forced Tommy to do that King of the Hill episode that we both really didn't like very much. So like, you know, I think that and those are two, I think, of some of the best episodes of Gimmicks that we've ever had, because the conversations were just so fun. So I'm looking forward to doing that kind of stuff and seeing where our opinions also might differ on those kinds of episodes.
Yeah.
Too. So
yeah, but trust that there's some great stuff on the horizon. We're starting off with some really, really solid episodes of TV.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I'm sure there will be announcements of that going forward, but I don't know. If you've got other questions about that, you can certainly ask me. But I mean, like, the long and short of it, I think the show's going to be better, and I really needed help. So David was one of the most helpful people who had availability to also be a co-host. And also we vibe very well. And also you are knowledgeable about TV, but don't have the exact same tastes as I do. So there are some blind spots that I think we can fill for each other that's going to be really helpful.
That's true. And looking at the Gimmicks Dream Board, there are some awesome series of television that just never made their way onto my cultural radar. So I'm really excited to be expanding that as well.
Yeah, honestly, Same. I've never seen The West Wing, so I'm sure we're gonna do a West Wing episode since you have.
Oh my gosh,
so.
I'm gonna have to drag you into that and ruin our friendship.
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah, just wow, early leftist, or what they think was leftist behavior, just not there.
Oh God, I can't wait. That's going to be so fun. Or maybe not. We'll see.
Well, and to all the listeners of Gimmicks, I feel really welcomed. Thank you all so much for taking the announcement so well. I expected there to be a lot of questions as to why this guy, but I dealt with that in therapy like you should, and you all were just very supportive, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, everybody's great. My listeners rule.
They do.
They rule so much that they sent us more questions than I expected. And
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about some of these questions.
Some of these are really tough. Some of them I haven't actually given any thought to, so it's going to be very off the cuff, and I might regret my answer. So, we'll see how that goes.
Okay, well, we'll do a little therapy here as well then, Derek. That's great.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, we can just get started at the top.
Let's do it.
And there's a great question that I won't actually know the answer to because I don't have the institutional history with us, but this question's from our friend, Doug. And so what are some of Gimmicks' most suggested episodes from the fan base?
Yeah, recently Strange New Worlds episodes have come from, I've had now 5 people suggest either the Lower Decks crossover or the musical episode or both. So that's going to have to happen. Something like that is going to have to happen soon. I mean, we definitely will, I'm sure, in one capacity or another. We'll have to figure that out. But that was kind of surprising to me because it was just literally like multiple people unrelated, like were just texting me about it. Like, I thought of you or you should do this for Gimmicks. So I was like, I guess I have to now. But they do sound really cool. So I'm excited. They do sound cool. That.
Do you have familiarity with this TV series?
Familiarity like in the Vegas sense. So I've never watched an episode of Stranger Worlds. So
me neither, but yeah. I've got that Paramount Plus. It's just kicking around. Yeah. It's doing nothing for me.
Yeah, we're going to have to. So, yeah. And actually along those lines, Deep Space Nine, people pitch Deep Space Nine a lot, which is so funny that hasn't, I think the reason that I haven't done an episode of it yet is that like there were people who before I even started the podcast had called some episodes of it. But then, when it's time for them to come on, it's just sort of like, well, maybe I'll have this person come on for DS9 and then I know you pitch DS9, but why don't we do something else other than DS9 since some people pitched it? But then the people that I'm ready to have on for DS9 are sort of like, I actually don't really want to do that episode yet, or I don't have time to do it yet. And so it ended up being like the whole first year, there kept being a DS9 episode of some sort on the horizon that just like never happened. And now that's like one of the few Star Trek shows that hasn't been done, even though most people have pitched it. So it'll definitely have to happen. I don't know what a good first episode of it is because there are a lot of really great episodes of DS9 that can be done. And some are more serious and some are like just sort of for fun and silly. And it's just a matter of what's like a good one to tackle first and which of the many guests who've pitched it would be on for that. So there might have to be a little bit of a guest Hunger Games for that show once we finally do it. It better be the most listened episode of the show ever, given how many people have asked about it. But
so the Star Trek fandom's really represented in these requested episodes. It's funny because when I saw this question, my assumption was that on a weekly basis, someone asks you when you're covering Once More with Feeling from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That has come up, but I think for like a lot, like Buffy and Community too, I think you'll just sort of assume that that's going to get covered. And they were covered very early in the show, at least like one episode of each. So like, I don't think people even really think to ask about that. Cause you're sort of like, well, of course you're going to do that. I think that if anything, people are just surprised that there hasn't been like 17 Buffy and Community episodes already,
Restraint, Derek, restraint.
Yeah. I mean, there has because there are, there's so many of both of those shows you could do. But I feel like it's sometimes more fun to get the less obvious stuff too. But there obviously will be more Buffy and Community. So like, but I think it was waited long enough now that it's now appropriate to do more. And I'm sure by a million years from now, when this podcast is over, ? I'm sure we will have done tons of Buffy and Community episodes. So.
Yeah, well, I assume the entire catalog of Community will be covered at some point in time.
Yeah,
by this
will just become a Community podcast, probably. So,
Oh no. Direct competition with 6 seasons in a podcast.
Doug asked another question, sort of related. What's an episode of Gimmicks that hasn't happened yet that you're especially excited to do? Do you have an answer for that, David?
Well, one day I'm going to drag you back to the Apple TV Plus series, Mythic Quest, and we're going to cover Dark Quiet Death. I love it. I think it's a fantastic episode. We'll talk about this later because one of the questions is like, what gimmicks do you love? But I love a limelight. I love looking at other characters. I love getting out of the usual storyline and exploring some of the things that make our worlds full. And so it's going to be really exciting when we get to one day talk about that episode.
Yeah. I love that episode a lot too. It's good. That's a good one. Episodes of Gimmicks we haven't done yet. There's a few that like one of the things that I was thinking of were shows that I really loved that I haven't been able to do just because it's hard to find a guest for it. And now like we have the ability to do that since I have you as an actual permanent co-host that I can force them on you. So like right from when I had originally started the podcast, one of the things on my short list was the So Weird episode Encore. Because I think that's a show that like, it's hard to find a guest for that because it's not a show that's like super in the pop culture. There are people there are still fans out there, but like they're very far and few in between. And there are a lot of people who like, if you mention the show to them, they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that show. I haven't thought about it in like 20 years, but I remember it. And it is a really good show. And it's one that I've revisited many times and I do think holds up really well. It was a Disney Channel original show from like the late 90s to early 2000s, from right before, you know, like your Even Stevens and Lizzie McGuire's and That's So Raven sort of took it over and it became like the sitcom pop star generator that it became. It was from a weird era of Disney Channel. And that particular episode is like a really fascinating take on a clip show that is still one of my favorite episodes of the show and like a really important and like emotional episode of the show. And that's one that I've been excited to do. So I'm definitely going to force you to do that one with me.
I'm totally game for it. As I've shared with you off record, one of my favorite episodes of Gimmicks was when you and Annie covered Sliders. Sliders also very niche fandom. There are 10 of us, but we are very vocal about it. And Daddy Arturo. But I love the opportunity to get into something that's a little bit more unspoken of, and I think that's exciting for people who remember it as part of their childhood or remember seeing maybe like one episode of something and can get back into it.
Yeah, that's definitely at the top of the list for me for sure. There's plenty of others that I'm like excited to do. There's a lot of TV shows just in general that I'm like, I'm just excited to do this TV show at some point, even if I have to try to find an episode of it. So
yeah,
we will definitely chat about that coming forward. So
I want to break into some 60s, 50s, 40s TV.
Dude, right? Yeah. I think that'll especially be fun. There's definitely ideas I have for that kind of stuff. So yeah, get old and ancient here.
Well, that's why you really brought me on, to bring some old and ancient onto the podcast. Thank you. That's
You're welcome.
So just clearing off the slate for next week's time on the couch with the digital therapist. That's great. I want to be very clear. I mean that a therapist I meet with on Zoom, not an AI therapist. We're not there yet. We're trying. Well, great question then to move on to. And this one's from Drew, which is at _TrueDrew_ on Twitter. And Drew asks, what piece of television has impacted you the most?
Oh, that's so hard. I think 2 answers. I have a really specific one from my childhood, and then I have a more like adult one, I think. The childhood one. So I've told the story on other podcasts before. There's an episode of Beast Wars called Code of Hero where Dinobot dies. And it's not even the first time that a character on that show has died, but like it's a really famous episode of that show. And it's a really good, like heroic death episode, right? Like, you know, that's a standard thing. I was maybe like 6 or 7, I think, when that episode came out. And it was the first time that I like experienced grief was through that. And So I still have very, very distinct and like kind of powerful memories of like feeling this like profound sadness at an episode of like one of my favorite shows that I was just watching at like 6:30 in the morning. And then like just feeling like sadness for like a week, which when you're like a kid, that's like forever, right?
Yeah.
Just like feeling sad and depressed. And I had a little like diary with a kitten on it that I wrote in. And I remember like writing about just like feeling really sad that Dinobot died. And it seemed like he was like never coming back after that. And I think I genuinely went through like the full process of like grieving a fictional character like you would grieve a person, and then like getting over it. And then eventually realizing like that was like just a really good story that like I really enjoyed, even as sad as it was. And I really feel like I reckon, and all of those things were like, I couldn't put those things into words at the time, obviously, but I think those were the thoughts that I was having, like the feelings that I was having, even if I didn't have them in those exact words. And I think I realized that later on in life, when like years later, my grandma died, and it was the first, I think, like real like death of a close family member, you know, like a genuine, like someone close to you has died. And I think that like I was fine when that happened. Like it was like very normal. Like I'm sad, but I'm not like devastated. It hasn't like thrown my world, you know, out of order in the way that I think often the first time you experience death does. And I think it's because I had like kind of learned how to process grief from a fictional character where the stakes were low. So then by the time it happened in real life, I kind of already like understood what death meant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like a really traumatic experience, one that actually happened in real life. And I think honestly, probably like that really helps shape how I sort of approach media, I think, going forward, because that memory has always like been there for me as sort of a sort of backbone for just like, even just like the shit you watch as a kid that are based on toys, like you can still find meaning and pull something out of that, you know, whether it's something like you're critically analyzing, or in a case like that where it's just like the way that it as a piece of art like affects you and makes you feel things and helps you, if not like learn a lesson in the traditional sense, like learn how to like approach life and live life one way or another, you know, even if it's a way that you're internalizing it. And I think that just like, yeah, I always look back on that as sort of like a very particular media experience where it's like TV just actually like helped me grow as a person for the better, you know, almost as like a formative experience.
Yeah. Art is cool like that. Like it can work in both directions. It can prepare you to sort of navigate similar social situations, or recognizing and understanding and reacting to stimuli the way that you're talking about with grief. It can also be sort of a catharsis for trauma. So you went through something, and then seeing characters go through the same thing in a setting that's not yours gives you a chance to empathize with someone else, which activates sort of a different type of processing in your brain. That is cool. That is really remarkable, Derek, and all out of Beast Wars, of all things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good show, but like good to a point, because it's still a Transformers show based on toys from 1996.
Yeah.
So like
being
able to pull something from that is really cool. And the other half of it was just, it's a lot simpler. It's just like, I think that even though it's very widely loathed, season 6 of Buffy, I think really helped me understand depression. And I think I think it helped me work through things every time I've revisited it at a different point in my life. I think I understand it in a different way, or it speaks to me in a different way. I don't think that season is perfect. I think it has a lot of problems, but generally Buffy as a character going through a really realistic depiction of depression that really like doesn't hold anything back, especially a character that's like known for being like bubbly and fun and making quips and stuff, like going through that, I think really helped me, I think, just understand experiences that I've gone through and other people in my life have gone through. And like, I think just seeing that represented on screen, I think helped, you know, just figure out how to navigate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think season 6 also of Buffy would make my list of things that are very remarkable and very important. I was a late comer to Buffy, so by the time I got to season 6, I was already like Giles. So like I saw the entire show through Giles's eyes. He's my POV. It's hard being a hot daddy. I don't know what to tell all of you. But like season 6 Giles is there's a lot of empathy to be had. And for anyone who's got kids, I think that watching yourself go through a situation in which you love someone, but then realize that you're a barrier to their growth and development is a heartbreaking experience. And so that storyline is resonant and I think really important.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really nice because a lot of people really strongly dislike that storyline particularly. And I think it's really cool to, I think, kind of understand what it's going for from Giles's point of view. Because I think a lot of people really only approach it from Buffy's, which I understand, but it's like there's two people in that situation. And I do think when you're on the other side of that, there is something complicated and interesting and relatable about that. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, for me, I had trouble thinking about like full episodes of television in response to this question from Drew. And I too thought about moments. So again, this is a moment in time that will age me. But when I think about my response to trauma and how I went through coming out in a small town in Michigan, I really resonated with the very, very poorly aged and even bad for its time, but coming out story that was told on Dawson's Creek in a 2-parter called "To Be or Not to Be." ... That is the question, which explored Jack's coming out, which it's hackneying and not very good, but it was important for me at the time. Probably unlocked some core sexual development watching Pacey spit in a man's face, but that would be for a later rewatch. No, it's funny because like Dawson's Creek was a big thing to me. And when I first read this question, what I actually thought about was when I watched the season finale of Dawson's Creek, I was not a consistent viewer. I went to college. They went to college. We parted ways. But my best friend from high school kept watching it. And so she said like, hey, the finale's coming out. We should watch it together. And I have this really like core memory of watching television, sitting on AOL Instant Messenger and just talking about the show that we were watching simultaneously, even though we were a whole world apart. And it's weird and we would talk about it every time we would get back together. Now she's a PhD in geology and I went on to be a counselor, and just that our lives took these total different paths. It always felt weird that was like a unifying thing. And it was sort of like the first experience I had of live tweeting a show, even though it was to an audience of one.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah.
And then talk about some childhood trauma. That for me has got to be the Moaning Lisa episode of The Simpsons. We're talking season 1 here.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Marge telling Lisa that she will smile enough for the both of them. Sorry, and we very publicly are Marge fans. And this for me is when I really latched on to that, because that's what I needed a parent to say in my life. And nobody was saying that, because I had parents who said you had to smile and you have to put up a public appearance. And that's like really fucking toxic for a child. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. That one of the best moments of the whole show.
Yeah.
Such a good, it's such a, that I get really, that hits me hard every time I see it. What a good choice.
Yeah. Same era also that I just jotted a quick note on. Oh man, just things that are going to make you just sort of well up if you've got a core memory about this. But the scene in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when Will Smith asks how come he doesn't want me, in reference to his father who has just left. And we've got James Avery there just acting his fucking ass off as this like concerned uncle. Again, just really, really formative.
Yeah. Oh man. A+ sitcom stuff. Clips that go around on Twitter very often, every so often. And you know what? For good reason. They just always should, because they're good scenes.
Yeah. And then because I felt I might need a joke here, I also wrote down, mention Lena Olin's storyline from Alias season 2 and how fucking hot she was, because she was really fucking hot in season 2 of Alias. It's her mom, her hot mom. Mm-hmm. Damn, she's so hot.
Yeah, she really is.
She's so hot. Her and Victor Garber made little baby Alias, and she was a super spy.
I mean, everyone on that show is too hot. The fact that show had like a man who would go on to be considered the sexiest man alive, and he was like the ugly best friend on that show. Like,
oh my God, that's right.
Truly legendary, honestly. Like,
I was like, God, when did the IT guy became named sexiest man alive? And that's just a poll for you and me.
Oh my God. On this note, I know you were just like, oh, let's end on a light note. And then it's going to get serious again because we're still talking about profound impacts on our life because we got another question. Kevin Cafferty, former guest of the show, asked, what are the works of art, so TV show, movie, book, watercolor, whatever, that have had the most profound impact on your life? Oh my God. Freaking intense ass question.
Yeah. I want to stay grounded in TV because that's sort of our shtick.
Sure.
I will say that for some reason, I started watching Black Mirror on Netflix, and I stopped at like episode 3 of season 2 for no particular reason. Just sat there for months and months and months. And then I finally watched the next episode, which was San Junipero. And that was an episode of television that was just beautifully shot, wonderful story, fucked up in the mind a little bit. And that was something that was resonant with me for quite a while.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a really good episode of TV. I agree with that. Yeah, that's one that I definitely revisit if I want a nice, happy cry.
Oh my God,
for sure.
The idea of putting that on willingly is so hard for me to...
Oh, really? No, I've seen it so many times. That's like my Valentine's Day watch.
I had a big reaction to that.
It's so beautiful.
I mean, it is beautiful. It was heart-wrenching. It's like I watched Requiem for a Dream a second time, and I was like, what am I doing?
I don't think it's on that level.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you?
Happy ending.
when I got to college, we had a video store across the street. Again, these are just things that will date me. And we rented Requiem for a Dream and watched it on like a 9-inch television that didn't show the color red. And that forged our friendship throughout college. Those people were with me forever.
Oh, jeez. For me, I did think of a non-TV one. There's a book that I read in college called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I will say it's a book that I have not revisited or reread, and I really don't remember like anything specific from it. And I kind of am afraid to like ever revisit it, so I don't think I ever will, because I feel like the impact it made on me was like very important, but it was less like the content of the book so much as what it was saying, because that whole book is very much like about like it's nonfiction, and it's just like experiences living through the Holocaust and like how do you find meaning in your life, like when you're confronted with like the most horrific experiences any person could ever experience. And then it's sort of like goes from there to just being a general sort of philosophy type of book. And I read it for a class, like not thinking anything of it, but I think that like a lot of the conversations that I'd had in it were really necessary for me it like hit me at the exact right time, right. Sometimes when art is just like exactly what you needed. And I think that was like, I was a freshman in college, and I think I was just figuring out that like I wasn't religious like my family was. I was raised Jehovah's Witness, and I'm obviously not. I'm big gay now. I'm obviously not a Jehovah's Witness now. And so I was sort of in that space where I was realizing that I didn't want to be part of that. And I'm like in college, like every like weird Christian kid who goes to college usually ends up not being that anymore and probably comes out of the closet, like, so I was in that very stereotypical space. But I think it was very much sort of like, if I'm not like this, if I'm basically like saying that the reality that I've been living in for my whole life up until that point, I'm deciding that that's wrong. Like, where do I go from there? And so I think a book that was essentially sort of like, you make your own meaning. Like, you kind of figure that out. Like, you don't have to live by anyone's definition of what life's meaning is. You do what you think is important to you, like makes you happy, or what you feel like is contributing back into the world. And that's the meaning that you create. And like, and I think that was just like, it's like kind of obvious now looking back on it, but at the time that was just sort of like life-changing, right? That was like very like mind-blowing. Like, wait, so you don't have to just like follow, like if I'm not following like what God in the Bible says, which is how I've been told to live my life beforehand, I don't have to do that. I could just figure out what is important to me now and live like that. And I think that really built a foundation for like my life's philosophy going forward. Like, I don't think that book was exactly like about optimistic nihilism, but I think that led me down on that path, which is kind of how I approach life now. Like, like, it's not that there is a pre-existing meaning that exists in the world. You just make the meaning that you want to make. Like, that's the benefit of there not really being a general grand life's meaning, is that it's all up to you, the individual. Like, you can make it be whatever you want. And I think that really only started with reading that book, which, again, I don't remember any specifics or passages or quotes from it, but I know that I learned it from that, and that's always stuck with me from there.
That's really cool, though.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that. I had trouble thinking of a book. I don't read a lot of fiction. I used to read like almost exclusively for work, and I would read books that I like hated because I think it's important to like learn about the other side of things. So I would read like a lot of conservative think piece books and write in the margins all the ways I disagreed with them. Like I was having a conversation they couldn't hear. They probably wouldn't want to listen to me anyway, but there were some real stellar ones. And I would say that, I pitched the Viral Underclass when I was on here for Mythic Quest, but one of the best that I've read in my recent tenure was The Whiteness of Wealth, which talked about how like all the designs of wealth accumulation in the United States are built off of white supremacy and built to reinforce it. And it was one of those things that was both an easy read and a very, very difficult read, because I was reading a book written by a tax accountant who had turned lawyer, turned writer.
Oh God.
Yeah,
What a combination.
I know. But I think that sort of thing is so important to like balance with, we're online all the time. We talk to each other. I think we end up in these situations in which we're with people who like maybe agree with us or maybe push us on a couple things. But to really get to the studs and thinking about where some of this stuff came from, that was pretty revolutionary for me a couple years ago. Came out, I think her name is Dorothy Brown.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
What about art? Any art move you pretty significantly, Derek?
I'm sure it does, but I can't think of things that like stick out to me. Like art is in like paintings and stuff like that, like sculptures and whatnot. I can't really think of something. Like there are things that I like a lot, but I don't know what necessarily has made an profound impact on my life. I did think of a podcast though, episode, an episode of it's the now canceled NPR show Invisibilia, which I liked a lot. There's an episode in its, I think, second season called The Problem with the Solution. And I've listened to that episode maybe like 6 or 7 times and I cry every time. It's a really good one. I think it feels weird to be like spoilers for an NPR podcast, but I kind of don't want to spoil it because there's a lot of power in sort of the conclusion that it comes to. But ultimately the idea is sort of like, society, especially in America, but just generally society's, sort of approach to like wanting to fix people, fix things and fix people. And the idea that like always trying to find a solution, especially with like when you're dealing with like mental illness and things like that, like trying to be like, well, this is a person that is different in society. We have to fix them to make them normal. But sort of it talks about these really like unique and different approaches to like helping people live their lives in a way where they can be their best selves, and how oftentimes like sort of just engaging with the unique ways that they have to live life because of the ways that their brains are built or the ways that like they have anything about their life that just makes them different, sort of engaging with them and let them sort of be their best selves within the way that they want to live life. Actually, like it can be kind of healing in a way, and actually I can't really say it as eloquently as they do, because I don't want to just be like, you can't be on medication or whatever. It's like, it's not that kind of thing. It's not like an anti get help situation. Right. It's more like there are some people who like going to therapy isn't really going to do anything for them. No. And it reminded me a lot of like my sister's situation, she deals with a lot of like anxiety and like and OCD and stuff like that. And it's like, she can go to therapy as much as she wants. It's not like there's not really anything you can really do with it. Right. But sort of like trying to live within the parameters that she lives best in helps her just live better as a person generally. And I mean, and again, I think it's just worth listening to, because I think the podcast, that episode deals with it in a lot of really different directions that I think really changed my mind about how I approach things and people and myself too, honestly. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I talk about a piece of art? A piece of art with like paint on it? Like
no, I do mind. We got to move on. Sorry.
A Jack Donaghy painting. All paintings should be of horses. there's a gorgeous and fucking giant piece of art that now hangs in the Louvre that was painted by Theodore Géricault in 1819, and it's often taught as sort of a classic Romanticism painting. It's called The Raft of the Medusa. Why I love it though, it's gorgeous. And Géricault was a great painter, but why I love it is that I would use this whenever I would kick off a meeting or a new project at work. Because the story of the Medusa is that the ship veered too close to Africa when it was sailing back, and hit astray of some shallow water, fell apart, and it was all this like douchebag captain who had sort of made these bad orders, couldn't lead his crew to even get onto any sort of safe passage, so they scrambled together on some boards and made this like makeshift raft. He was only given the post of captain as part of sort of his bribery and bad work with the French government. And this painting was responsible for exposing the common people to this massive failing of the French Navy and led to major reforms. And so I would like to point it out anytime that I started a meeting at work, that I was going to be a better captain of this project than this guy was of this terrible, terrible boat.
Wow, that's incredible.
Oh my God, they were on the water for 13 days. Some of them ate each other. It was really sad. But also, I will say, it was a gorgeous piece of work, and we made plans to go to the Louvre to see it because it's fucking huge. I just, again, need to impress upon everyone listening. It is a really, really big painting. Paintings shouldn't be this big. It's just big. But then we got canceled for COVID, so we still haven't made it up there. It's my goal. Man.
Oh, that sounds so cool. I mean, you're closer there now than you were before, right?
I am. Oh my gosh, I could walk. It would take me a year, but I don't have to swim across the ocean, so I'm a lot closer now.
Yeah. So there you go.
There we go. I will also say that on the subject of art, I love art. I didn't think that I did, but I took art appreciation. Well done college. It made me appreciate art. That wasn't for me. I took theater appreciation from my art credit. But my husband, who went back to school as a late in life adult, couldn't stand any art classes. And so I illegally took the class for him. And I feel like the statute of limitations is up on that. It was online. It was great. I adored it.
Oh, that sounds so fun. Yeah. I mean, art's fucking cool, man.
Art's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That rules. Oh my goodness. I think we've sufficiently answered these things about art changing our lives. And I'm sure there's still a million more answers too, which is funny. God, good questions, y'all. Making us dig deep.
I know. I love it. But we're going to get back to some gimmick stuff. So Tommy, our friend, Awkward Comma on Twitter, asked us what our least favorite gimmick episode that's been used or maybe is used too frequently, used all the time. What's that for you, Derek?
Okay, the way that we define it on this show, in that, where it's just like a different kind of structure breaking episode, I don't really have one, because even I know I understand where he's coming from, because there are people that whenever they see that there's a new musical episode or like a Groundhog Day loop episode or even like a clip show or something, they like immediately scoff at it. And I get that. If you're not really into it, you're just going to be like, they're doing this again. For me, I get excited every time any of those things happen, because I'm always curious about how it's going to be done, whether it's done well or done badly, or done differently than before. I'm just always curious about how it's going to be done and fit into that universe. So I don't have a grand, structure breaking experimental gimmick thing that I really don't like. But one thing that I can think of that's just a gimmicky thing that TV shows do a lot. It wouldn't be a thing that would be a premise of an episode that we would do for this podcast, but I think TV shows do a lot. I mentioned Alias. Alias did this a lot, both good and bad. A thing where the show basically starts in medias res and then speeds back and then tells you how they got there, which is a thing that can be really fun. Your typical record scratch, bet you're wondering how I got in this situation kind of thing. That can be done so well, but I think a lot of TV shows, especially pilots, kind of lean on that when it's clear, and it's sometimes it's so transparent where it's sort of you as the writer just didn't know how to start your episode and was sort of I guess I'll just throw them in the middle of the action and then we'll flash back and work our way to it. And it can be done effectively, like I said, but oftentimes just sort of really you just sped to the end of your episode and now I know where it's going to lead to.
Yeah.
And now I'm just sitting here waiting for how I'm going to get to that action sequence. I think like Alias has done it both ways where like, I think they eventually started leaning on it way too much where like in their latter years, they did it like every other episode, but the pilot is I think a very good example of it because that one you're unfamiliar with the show first of all, but like it's such a striking image when that episode starts and you see like Jennifer Garner in the bright red clown hair and a sleek back outfit, like getting tortured and getting her teeth pulled, but she's still throwing out quips about it and stuff. And you're like, what the fuck's going on? And then it flashes back and it's like, oh, she's just like, a cool, hip, young grad student. I guess we're going to see how she becomes a spy. But then it's like, no, she's already a spy, actually. And she's working for this organization. So wait, where's it going to go from here? Oh, wait. And then the real twists are like the organization she's working for. And like there's still twist after twist in that episode, even long before you ever get to like the bright red clown hair. And so that aspect of the episode is so long and far away from where your actual starting point of the story is that once you like loop back to it by the end, it does feel like you're in a completely different universe and you never could have predicted how it got to where it was. And I think sort of the complications sort of make it really beautiful. When it's done badly, it's just sort of like, well, okay, they're going to end up like in France trying to find a bomb. Cool. I'm assuming I know how I know they're going to get there,
Yeah, and I'd say that you can feel a little bit unlost too. I think like works really well and then is overutilized. Like all we have is a hammer, so here come the nails.
Yeah.
I would also say that like to me, In Media Res is really about your world. Just in case anyone who's listened to this is like a novice story writer and is taking advice from this podcast. But it's
don't do that, but sure.
It's about your world. It's not about your main character. It's okay for your main character to be at the start of the hero's journey. Like think about the pilot of Ted Lasso. When you join Ted, he's got an establishment, he's got a background, but his story for this journey is new. It's starting at the beginning. The world is in movement, but this character is starting from a space.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Okay. I have a more concrete answer, which is listen, y'all. And it's a corner cut and there are plenty of exceptions to the rule. But if it's just a dream and it has no impact on the rest of the world or the situation, and you pull that it's just a dream at the last second in order to set everything back to the status quo, I'm not game for it. Okay. Take note, Family Matters. The biggest, I think, disciple of the it's just a dream.
Sure.
Here's the deal. Plenty of situations in which this works out totally well. I'm not here to ditch like Beard After Hours, for example, which is just a drug dream. There's important character things that happens. You learn things. You get to explore different facets. I'm game for all of that. You just wanted to write a totally different episode, but then you wanted to reset status quo without anything being learned, anything being developed, or us just taking a peek into something different. I'm not here for that.
It's fair. I think that's fair. I like it as an avenue to basically just write your fanfic in the midst of a show, but
Derek, then
depends on the situation. Sure.
Let's schedule one. We can fight. I want to fight.
Okay.
I want to have a fight.
I'm sure that we probably can't. I mean, I do agree with you. Sometimes it is bad. The same thing with like clip shows too. Like I think you can do clip shows really well, but sometimes clip shows are truly the most half-assed. Like clearly no one wants to be there really doing this kind of thing. I get that.
And you can tell when it was like cost cutting. I mean, the same thing's true for bottle episodes. We got a question about bottle episodes soon, but like sometimes a bottle episode sucks because it was a cost cutting measure. So they did like rush it to production. We're going to eventually talk about bad bottle episodes. So far on Gimmicks, we've talked about some really great ones. I think the same thing is true for clip shows. I think you can have a really well written and well designed wrap to a clip show. I think All Singing, All Dancing of The Simpsons is like an awesome clip show. There's like new music written for it.
Yeah,
Julie Kavner is exchanging years of her life to sing as Marge. It's great. I also think there are some like Golden Girls clip shows that are like absolutely terrible.
Sure. Yeah. Any gimmick can be bad. So sure. Yeah, absolutely. Anything can be executed badly, period. That's just how things work. Yep. Yeah. We'll definitely fight about some stuff later for sure.
I love it. I love it. We flipped the script though, so because we gave Tommy a little bit of shit on Twitter for asking this question, and pulled around and asked, well, okay, what's a gimmick you want to see more of? And bonus, if you've got some episodes in mind that cover it.
This is one that I didn't give enough thought to. I'm a very big proponent of every show ever should always have a musical episode, no matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad.
Sold.
Every show should just do it. Every single one.
Yep.
It's fine. Yeah, just try it. And if it's bad, okay, that makes it fun to see how badly your actors sing.
Well, yes. Again, that's just like an Allison Hannigan, Rex Harrison her way through songs. I loved it.
Yeah.
My answer to this is heist episode. It's probably on my mind.
Yeah.
The most recent after party that dropped was a heist episode. But I love a heist. I love getting the crew together. I love going and doing something stupid together. I think it's great. Community's got the episode, The First Chang Dynasty, which was a pretty good heist episode. Not that we need more communities to do. And then if you're a heist fan like me, I can't recommend enough the series Kaleidoscope on Netflix, which was a fantastic little show. Looked like it was meant to be told with the episodes showing in any order, which was also kind of a cool conceit of the design of the episodes.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I'll have to check that out. The only other thing that I can think of, I do have like a little bit of a real answer for it. Yeah. And I don't really know exactly how to put it, but like another Community reference, the Community episode that's basically just like a whole episode like homage to My Dinner with Andre. I think that there is something interesting, and I feel like there's a thing there because it's sort of intertwined with a bottle episode, right? Of like two people talking for a long time. But I do like the idea of like an episode that is specifically just about a very intense, long-winded conversation between two people that just goes in really weird directions. And that is not one that I think every show could pull off, but I think that you could pull it off with many shows. I can't think of an example that exists right now that I'd want to see it with, but like any show that has like, especially if it's two characters that maybe don't interact one-on-one very often, and making them just forced in a situation where they are just in an intense conversation with each other for like 22 minutes. Like, I think that there's something really cool about that, and it does become a bottle episode, but like, there's still something specific about that where like it is nonstop talking back and forth and just seeing where you go from there. I think that can be really fun.
And then I think my other answer for this is anytime we do something really fucking cool with a camera, I'm always game for that. I love, so like we're going into like season 11 of Supernatural, but there's an episode that's told entirely from the POV of the car. Not like the car is thinking, just the camera is in places that are in the car, but a camera cannot go there. So it works for you as a viewer, but the minute you start thinking about how they put a camera there, really starts to break your brain because it's just in places that cameras should not be. And I love that. Or I know that I've pitched this and we will have to cover it one day, but the story told through handheld Operation X Cops from the X-Files. Yeah, I mean, that's awful, but we're gonna have to talk about it because I just love that because it's weird.
Yeah, no, I agree. Anytime you can get like, not necessarily cinematic isn't the right word, but like experimental with camera work on TV. I mean, it's not as big of a deal nowadays because every fucking streaming show is like a multi-million-dollar cinematic production. But like, particularly in like 90s and 2000s TV or even before then, but I think it's more prominent like 90s and 2000s TV, where it's like you're not really expecting cinematic camera work or experimental camera work, but then you get a TV show, an episode that it's like, this looks like this is like a college film student's like, final project. That's always really fun to see on TV because it's clearly like, oh, I know you're working in TV, but you're really trying to do something here. Like that's always really fun.
Oh yes, it's the pinnacle. I love that. I wish we could go back to like classical TV and like force a massive cinematography change. Like, I don't know, could we go back to like Happy Days and show the journey of I don't know, Father Dowling's experiences at work? Could we just like go back and do that? I've forgotten his name too. I'm so sorry, Father Dowling. The dad from Happy Days.
Yeah, you get it. I didn't remember either, so you're fine.
I got nothing.
Well, here's a pivot. Had nothing to do with TV. George at Ranger Reviews on Twitter asked us a very nice question. I don't agree with you, George, by the way. Says, you both have gorgeous signature styles. I don't know what you're looking at, but thank you. What informs your choice of wardrobe? Bear culture, stereotypical bear culture to me, really. I'd wear a lot of flannel. In the cold months, I wear a lot of flannel and jeans. In the warm months, I wear t-shirts and cargo shorts and New Balance tennis shoes. So I have experimented with like different types of styles and stuff before. I'm like, how much in like the queer space do I want to play? Like, do I want to get away from like typical masculine stuff? And I am never comfortable in it. I am just very comfortable in the most. I am very comfortable in the comfortable. I'm very comfortable in the basic proto-masculine bullshit, and it's good enough for me. The most that I've really branched out recently is sort of like, instead of a t-shirt, it's like a comfortable short sleeve button-up shirt in summer months, because they're nice and flowy when it's 100 degrees outside. Like, I think it actually is more conducive to sweating a lot when you're outside. You get more air there. But I'm really not. I like t-shirts that look cool, and I like bright colors and things that have cool designs on them. I was away from graphic tees for a long time, and then I'm just sort of like, I need fun in my life, and I work from home anyway, so I can wear graphic tees now. So I'm back into graphic tees again with funny, weird shit on them. I like things that are things that maybe a lot of people wouldn't get, and are weird mashups of like Garfield and Mecha and stuff.
I love that.
And yeah. And I like flannels that are like very brightly colored too. I don't like your typical dark stuff. I like bright pinks and purples and flannels. So, a little bit of flair there, and I like hats.
Yeah. Yeah. I only have one hat. I would need to get more hats to make hats part of my life.
They're not for everybody,
No, that's fair.
I'd
agree with you. It's like comfort and ease. I mean, right now I'm wearing a dark gray t-shirt with no graphic on it. It's just plain. A pair of cargo shorts, as all legs should be equipped to hold extra things. I feel very strongly about this. And then because I'm at a standing desk, I'm wearing bright orange Crocs to help with standing. That's it. But you know what? It is a look, and I'm here for it. So I say thank you, George. I too reject the premise of your question, but I accept it. Because you know what? We do have a style, Derek. We do.
Yeah. Reluctantly take the compliment.
Come on. We're both like, just like some cinched up jeans away from wearing some John Goodman, Height of Roseanne clothes.
And you know what?
That's the look.
It's really fucking hot, actually. So
it is really fucking hot.
I'm happy to embrace the dad era. That's like what I'm going for with each passing day, more and more. Yeah. So I'm totally happy with that. Let's go back to TV.
Oh, awesome. I love TV. I just love TV so much. Yeah. Chris, Sci-Fi Explosion on Instagram asks, what are y'all's fave Gimmicks TV episodes? We talked a little bit about things that we want to do for the podcast, but are there any episodes that are just like a huge fave of yours that are gimmick adjacent or gimmick related?
I wouldn't have said this before the podcast started, but the X-Files episode, Bad Blood, I liked it going into doing that episode. I always said that was my favorite X-Files episode. I'm doing a full watch through of the X-Files now, and catching all the stuff I had never seen before. I got to Bad Blood again, and I'm like, I still fucking love this. I love it more than I did before. It's still my favorite episode of the show. It's just such a good episode. It's such a perfect execution of the Rashomon style, but it's also an episode that like fits perfectly as an X-Files episode. I think it does characterization so well. I mean, that's one of my favorite Gimmicks episodes that we've done. I think it was a really good one, and such a really fun conversation with Marilee about it. And yeah, I think that episode fucking rules, and I think that is one that I would suggest, whether you have ever seen or care about X-Files or not, it's worth seeing that one just because it's such a fun episode of TV.
Yeah. And my entry to the Gimmicks podcast was listening to that episode. As Derek knows, I was looking for an X-Files rewatch podcast. I'm now saturated in that. I need no more suggestions. I've got 2 going at the same time. It's a lot. But what I found was this coverage that you and Marilee had done, and I was like, oh, I remember Bad Blood. That's the one with Luke Perry, right? Not Luke Perry, no.
No,
Luke
Owen,
Wilson.
not Owen
Luke
Wilson.
Wilson.
Luke Wilson, yeah. Wow.
Wow. Just a lot there. Wow. Yeah, and so I was like, oh, I remember that episode with Luke Wilson, though I can't remember his name. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to listen to this. And then very soon thereafter, there was a Sliders episode, and that's when I knew that I was in love with this.
Oh, yeah. There's your podcast lore, everybody.
I think for me though, it might be the premiere episode that you've all done. I love the Chinese restaurant. I think it's a great episode of television. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's a bottle episode, and the next question we got, because that was going to be my answer for the next one.
Not my favorite bottle episode though, so you are welcome to take that one.
Okay, because Bridge, oh my God, at Bridge MT3, he's been on the podcast before. It's Kevin/Bridge. He asked favorite bottle episode of a TV series, and I think the Seinfeld episode, the Chinese restaurant, is still my favorite bottle episode that I've seen. I do like cooperative calligraphy from Community.
Oh my gosh, great episode.
It almost feels like a weird one because it's obviously like a very meta bottle episode intentionally, but it is still also a good one in its own right. But the Seinfeld one, there's just so much to unpack in that episode, and that one like 22-minute like one act play. It's so good. All
right, here's I gotta do this as both a pitch and an answer to the question. Okay. But my go on this is the episode No Exit from The West Wing, in which the White House has been locked down due to a suspected biochemical threat, and each of the characters are paired off into extremely antagonistic pairings, but they are forced to remain in them, and we watch the dialogue as it unfolds. So there's a lot of conflict to deal with. There's this maybe bioweapon to deal with. Some good acting, some good writing.
That sounds like I mean, you know what? That sounds like a West Wing episode that wouldn't annoy me like some other ones that I know would. So
there's just no politics in it. It's just characters. That's how I'm going to sell this to you. This is just characters freaking out and being pissed with each other, but not being able to leave.
I do love me some Aaron Sorkin dialogue when it's like, you know, doing good things. So I'm here for that. That sounds really fucking fun.
I mean, better than the other episode I pitched you that is like staunchly Islamophobic.
Is that the post 9/11 episode?
Yeah, really fucking hard to watch.
Yeah, maybe later. Maybe we do that later.
Yeah, listen, that's my brand on this podcast, is to talk about current events and the tragedy that unfolded for them, and then television that was written really quickly afterwards. That's what I'm here for.
I mean, it is really interesting.
Yeah.
Post 9/11 stuff is very interesting from every angle.
But then I'd say also on bottle episodes, there's a great episode of Mythic Quest. I'm sorry, did you know that I actually get paid every time you watch an episode of Mythic Quest? Called Please Sign Here, and they all have taken like personality tests, and they're all trying to like go over their results. It's great because Naomi Epikagen is just fantastic in it. She plays Carol from HR. And there's also some just really like unnecessarily good camera work in the bottle episode of them like going in giant circles with each other. There's a lot of funny moments.
Yeah, that is a really good episode.
So our next question is from Ian Dort on Twitter. And that is, what's your favorite Firefly episode?
I'm very so-so on Firefly is my
fair.
And like my whole experience with it is that like I watched it because obviously I was really into Buffy, and I was like, I guess I have, you know, back when Whedon was like the man who could do no wrong and untouchable to the majority of people, it was sort of like, yeah, I guess I'll watch all of his stuff. And it was, I never got into anything as much as I got into Buffy, except for Angel, which obviously is in the Buffyverse. So like Firefly, Dollhouse, I didn't really like that much, you know, I don't even remember what the other things are. I mean, like really Buffy, Angel, and like, I guess the Avengers, if you count it, are like the only Joss Whedon things I like. And then, you know, the more it's become more and more clear that he's an awful person, it's just sort of like, I feel less and less a desire to like feel like I need to approach his other work that wasn't already meaningful for me to me. And Fireflies is kind of in that space. I watch it and I'm like, I appreciate what this show was doing.
Yep.
The sort of Civil War landing on the side of the Confederates kind of vibe of it is a weird, but I appreciate a lot of the sci-fi stuff that it's doing. And I think that if it had run longer, I think it probably would have gone in maybe an direction I would have liked more. But as it stands, it's like, I watched it. I get it. I have no interest in revisiting it, except I will say I really, really like the movie Serenity a lot.
Oh,
I think that movie rules. I think a lot of Firefly fans don't really like that movie very much. So maybe because I wasn't super invested in the show, that maybe like the movie more. I think as a sci-fi premise, like
the movie's great.
Yeah, especially like the big reveal and everything of what the planet is by the end of it is like, if that wasn't a Firefly movie, I think it would have stood alone. Yeah, as a just really fucking good sci-fi movie. I think honestly, it being a Firefly sequel maybe held it back a little bit because you needed that backstory for it. But I think that movie is really good. So I guess I would just say that that's my favorite Firefly episode is the movie.
I also had trouble picking an episode. I had to look back at the episodes because it's been a long time since I revisited this series. I remember the cast being very, very attractive. I remember the companion woman being really, really hot. And I liked that concept. And then I looked back at the episodes and I had memories come back to me. And the second episode is a heist episode. So again, I will stay true to brand and say the train job, which is literally about robbing a train, heist style, was probably my favorite episode of Firefly.
Nice. That makes sense. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, Stick at Dante Diabli 54 on Twitter asked, is there a genre you believe executes certain gimmicks better than others? Example, bottle episodes fit comedies better because it forces writers to focus on stronger dialogue, which I do actually think that's a smart take from him. I would say that comedies probably do bottle episodes better, for one, because they're usually shorter episodes too. So you can get by with less happening in a shorter amount of time, but also like you are just focused on dialogue. And if you're already a comedy writer, you're probably already good at writing dialogue anyway. So I think that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and in fact, when I think about dramas that have done bottle episodes, it's actually the lack of dialogue that typically is more noticeable. Yeah. So I think about like Fly from Breaking Bad, which is a great bottle episode, but it's all about the camera being in weird fucking places again. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I think that, and it's no surprise that Gimmicks ends up covering so many of these, but I think genre TV is a pretty easy go-to for almost any gimmick in the deck, right? Because if you're Riverdale, you can sort of write anything off as just more Riverdale shenanigans. And you could do really whatever the fuck you want. And same thing with magic powers. I think that's where you get away with a lot of things. Not sure what other genres would match Gimmicks.
Yeah, I actually think like oftentimes I feel like maybe sci-fi is, I mean, you said genre, that encapsulates everything, but I think like magic is one thing because it's like, here's a spell that makes everyone sing. Like, there you go. I think sci-fi is particularly interesting because I think that there's a lot of space to do gimmicky things, but I think you have to work a little harder to explain it. It still ends up kind of being like space magic or science magic, but you still have to like figure out how does this work within a Star Trek episode still has to figure out exactly why is the holodeck, malfunctioning in this particular way for it to happen. So I do think a lot of times sci-fi ones actually end up feeling a little more satisfying because it probably feels like a more cohesive story because they have to work a little harder to justify the gimmick that they're doing, which makes the whole episode feel more cohesive and rewarding. That's not really exactly what Stick was asking, but like, I think that that's an interesting element of it because that differentiates it, I think, from like when a sitcom does like a dream episode where someone dreams they're all in a noir, which is like totally fine. And I think that makes it really easy to execute, but also I think it feels easy when you're watching it. And when you see a challenge being overcome in like a sci-fi show, it ends up, I think, feeling even more satisfying once you've gotten to the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think some of it is the way in which frameworks need to be introduced. And when they don't necessarily need to be introduced, that's when it feels so much more clean and it feels like it slips right in. And so that genre bend or that musical episode ends up fitting a little bit better, which I think is interesting. Like, I think that the musical episode that this podcast covered on Scrubs was so great because it was, there wasn't magic that could explain it. You had to actually go to a medical thing. And that was a really, really cool conceit in order to get there.
Yeah, fully agree. Fully agree.
All right. Well, this is a question that was aimed directly at you, Derek. So listen, I'm going to ask it. This is from Corey, who is the the almost bear on Instagram. I loved that I went really Sean Connery facsimile on Jeopardy, and I was going to do the almost bear, the almost bear on Instagram. Thanks for your message, Corey. Your question is, how did Derek come to find theater and acting?
Yeah, sure. So I liked it as a kid, and I did it as a kid whenever I could, but there wasn't really a lot of opportunities. There wasn't a lot of opportunities in the schools that I went to, because I was in like a little rural school. So we did like elementary school plays that the teachers wrote them, that the teachers wrote themselves. So the only ones that I remember, we did 3 of them, because I did one for all 3 years of elementary school, but I don't remember what the third one was. One of them was At the Hop. I think that was the first one that I did, and that was a time travel one where 2 students go back in time to the 50s, and just as an excuse to get all the kids to sing songs from the 50s. And then we all just sing songs from the 50s, and I was with 3 other guys singing Yakety Yak, and I was also in the chorus. And
Derek, the home video of this will be on your Twitch when?
I wonder if I'm sure it still exists somewhere, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure my parents have to have that. I don't have it in my possession, but I imagine it's probably somewhere in my parents' basement or something somewhere, maybe.
We'll putting this out into the universe that I really need this to happen. Mostly for the Yakety Yak. I can just do that scene. Yeah,
I do. I know I still have, I don't have that. I do have somewhere probably more accessible. There's another play that we did. I wish I could remember all 3 of them, but the other one that I did was an around the world play. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like literally just kids go around the world and then sing different songs from different countries, which got really not great, because there's like, for example, they go to Mexico and sing La Cucaracha. Ooh, not problematic at all there. They go to Australia. I was in the Australian segment, and they did like Tie Me Kangaroo Down Sport, and I was the wombat in that song, and I just got to run around in a little wombat outfit, and it was really cute. I do have that clip because when I was in high school, I made DVDs for our performance of Hamlet that we did for senior year, because I think it was like 4 or 5 of the people that were in Hamlet happened to all be in that
they
particular
also sang
elementary
Around the
school
World
song that I was in. Yeah, so I put that clip on the DVD as like a hidden feature when I made it. Wow. But so I probably do have that clip at least accessible, because I still have that DVD that I made in high school. If I can get it like ripped off of it. But yeah, I mean, so like I think I caught the bug there, and then I didn't really have a lot of opportunities until high school, and it was still just like a little, podunk out of in the middle of nowhere high school. So we did but I think that got my love of like minimalist theater, because we couldn't do big musicals or anything.
It's a black box, baby.
So like I got my experience to very like low grade, like not period piece Shakespeare, where we just sort of like just pretend it's like in the modern day and have like no sets or anything for it. And like, just these like plays that I would have never heard of before, like Time in the Conways and stuff like that, and Night Must Fall, like these like, plays that are like the things that you would see in like that parents were not excited to go to, but like as a high schooler, it's sort of like getting exposed to these like, more character driven dramas and stuff. And I think that honestly carried into college too, because I went to a small college that had a obviously bigger theater budget, but it was still a small, very, very small theater, department. And so it still was a lot of like kind of, more like minimalist dramas and stuff that we did, rather than like big bombastic musicals and everything. But yeah, I mean, I always liked it from there. And then after I was very, very involved in high school and college in theater. I didn't actually major in it, but I would like to think I got a little bit of an honorary degree, because I was in a play every single semester, often in like major roles, up until I think my last semester of senior year. I just sort of took a break from that, but I still like did stuff with theater department anyway. I still did a couple of shows with the college as an alumni, and I did a lot of community theater after college too for a few years. My friends and I had like started like a theater troupe where we wrote a couple of plays that we put on with like a local community theater. A lot of creative differences with the person, the sort of like director of that community theater. It was a church. It was just a church. Then we didn't, but a lot of creative differences there that sort of made that stop happening, which was fine because then I just moved my hobbies on other things. But I still was working part-time at a professional theater company in the box office, and still do every so often now to get the comp tickets and kind of, have my connection to that like circle. And I have friends who still work in the theater from there. And one of my friends is a professional director, like who directs nationally and did a show here and asked me to be part of it. So I got to be my first professional production earlier this year, which was really cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So, it's always a thing that I just kind of dip in and out of. Cause I mean, being on stage for that show this year was the first time I'd really been on stage. Like I've done like, Zoom readings and stuff like that, but that's different than actually being on stage. And I'd never done it in like a professional setting where I'm like actually getting a paycheck to do it until then. So, and that was the first time I'd really done it in like maybe almost 10 years. Yeah. So I was a little bit rusty, but it was fun. It was a great growing experience for me. And also getting to see how, absolutely fucked up the professional theater world is, and maybe being glad that I didn't try to pursue that as an actual career. But that also was just never really a thing that I ever assumed I would pursue. It was always a thing that was sort of like a thing that I liked to do on the side. I never had any aspirations of ever becoming a like full-time professional actor in any way. I think that probably if I pursued it, I probably could because I enjoy it, but I don't think I would like to live that life because I do think you do have to be a particular kind of person and have a particular kind of ego to allow yourself to survive in that lifestyle that you have to live as a professional actor, especially as just a working actor. So I'm happy with where I'm at, and anytime there's a theater opportunity that happens, I am happy to pursue it if I'm able to, but I don't feel heartbroken if I'm not acting at the same time. So that's that
being said, Derek is offer only, ladies and gentlemen. So please,
I mean, look, you know what? First professional gig, I didn't have to audition for it.
That's
I just
what I'm
sent
saying.
my resume.
That's what I'm saying.
Technically, I've only ever professionally acted offer only. So
that's what I'm saying.
Call my agent.
I am now taking the role of Derek's agent. You may call me offer only. Thank you. I love that. Yeah. I am, by the way, not Derek's agent. I would know nothing about that process. I used to be part of a lot of casting though, because I did community theater also, stage management, like back of house. And so sometimes they'd bring us on for like to help with the audition process, and they'd be like, at the end, the director, an uncertain director, might be like, "Well, what do you think?" And like, no, like I'm going to make judgments based on who I think can move chairs around the stage. You don't want me to cast on art. I'm only here to make sure the set gets moved.
Nice.
And limit the number of children. That's what I will also say. For those of you who are listening to this podcast and you're thinking about directing a community theater production of Beauty and the Beast, and you think if we cast a lot of children, we'll get to have their parents come and buy tickets. You are correct. But people will buy these tickets anyway, and managing children is really, really hard. So please don't cast them. Thank you.
Yeah. No. Why?
No.
Give them something else to do.
Yes. Give them an iPad. I think that I would have loved an iPad as a child. Hey, I also have a question. I have a question from my husband. Mike Arnold has submitted a question. You can't find Mike online unless you are part of his hometown or immediate family that he argues with about politics on Facebook.
God, why?
What television series have you rewatched the most?
Probably Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've rewatched through that whole one many times. The first season of Digimon Adventure. I watched that multiple times for sure. Those are my top and certain seasons of The Simpsons. That one's hard because obviously I haven't watched through all 30 something years, but like there's a chunk specifically, especially between like maybe seasons, these aren't the ones that I consider the best ones, but the ones that I've revisited the most are probably sometimes somewhere between like season 5 and 8. I definitely have seen all of those seasons over, and like I don't think I've watched a piece of TV more than I've seen individual episodes of those seasons. You know, and that's enough episodes to be as the show length for many other shows. So I think it counts.
Yeah, I would agree, not on the Digimon one, but with your other takes on this 100%. I used to travel for work, and in the beginning of traveling for work, we didn't have streaming the way that we have today. And so I would bring season probably 3 through maybe even as far as 10 Simpsons DVDs with me on the road. And I would just watch them on my laptop, which had a CD player at the time, and now they don't. But yeah, that's solid. I think Buffy's a big one for me. I would say Alias. I actually watched Alias a few times in its entirety.
Nice.
There are times at night I wake up and scream Rambaldi because he's coming for me. Yeah, I don't know what else I would say as a frequent rewatch. We have rewatched some seasons of television many times in the household. Like Mike will put on Friends or Schitt's Creek just as something to be on in the background, and that's fine. I understand that.
Yeah, there's a lot to like a series specifically, but I mean there's a lot of like individual episodes or like sections of shows I've rewatched a lot too, like ones that are long running that I wouldn't like. I've watched a lot of like sections of Parks and Rec before over and over again, and there's some certain episodes of Community I've seen a million times. I don't know they'll be the most watched ever, but that's an easy show for me to put on. And like a lot of episodes of Smallville I've seen like 10,000 times, and maybe like one or two some seasons of it I probably have seen multiple times too, but that's the whole show. No, there's some seasons that I don't super love, so I've only done a full watcher of that show maybe 2 maybe 3 times, which is still too many for 10 seasons.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I'm falling down on the job here too. I've probably rewatched 30 Rock 5 times.
Oh, nice.
From start
That's
to
a
finish.
good rewatch.
So that was a pretty easy, once I did have streaming on the road, that was a pretty easy go-to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That particular era of like comedy is so easy to revisit, I think. Like I totally get like people who have seen The Office like 70,000 times because there is a certain amount. It's like the perfect blend of like being a comfort show, like it is, but it is still like there is something smart and funny about it in a way that's different than like a lot of other comfort sitcoms you might find. That there's like an edge to it, I guess, that feels a little different. So yeah.
When you rewatch Buffy, do you skip any episodes?
No, I'm too much of a rewatch completionist. So
all right, fair enough.
I don't really. There are some that I maybe pay less attention to. I don't really enjoy watching Where the Wild Things Are. I don't really. And honestly, that's kind of that. I think that one is my least favorite because like there's some bad ones that are like have a charm to how bad they are, right? Like the whole first season, for the most part, it's just sort of like there's some like episodes that are technically garbage, but they're still fun.
Yeah,
how
fair enough.
Silly they are and stuff. But Where the Wild Things Are is just so fucking bad. Every other episode that I don't particularly like is at least interesting, you know. Yeah, that was just uncomfortable to watch. I just don't like watching and this isn't even an indictment of Riley himself as a character. I just don't like watching Buffy and Riley just have sex nonstop.
No,
it's just not. I don't think that they're attractive together when they're having sex. You know, like that doesn't work for me.
The old ghost woman was correct in what she did.
Yeah,
and she famously was on The West Wing.
Oh my God.
So that now I need to find you a Mrs. Lanningham episode so you can be like, oh, it's the ghost who punished Riley and Buffy for having sex.
Cool. Yeah, my favorite character.
Yeah. She was also in like a yogurt commercial that was shown a lot in the 90s.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved being like, oh, you're a vengeful ghost. Hi.
Oh my God.
Well, Derek, do you have any questions for me or do I have any questions for you? Because we've gone through them all.
Yeah, do I have any questions for you? What's your favorite? You don't have to comment on the podcast.
Okay.
Because I know that can be complicated. What's your favorite episode that we've done on Gimmicks so far?
Ooh. Well, I've already spoken highly of Bad Blood with you and Marilee. But I also loved the episode that you and Kevin did on Roseanne Without Roseanne.
Oh, nice.
You also got to talk a little. I mean, first of all, we talked about Dan, which is my special place. But I think that was a fascinating episode of TV to talk about. I loved Roseanne. I think I still do love Roseanne, the television series, not
the
Barr,
show,
the comedian.
Yeah. No, the show is very good. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. In fact, it's actually like a little sad of what happens. I think that's how history will really look at this. But I think that was a great episode of Gimmicks.
Thank you.
Oh God, the moonlighting episode. Shit, this is not to shit on Marilee or Kevin, but the moonlighting episode that you did it with Kevin, right?
Yeah, the other Kevin.
Oh my God, so fucking good. Nice. First of all, I did not watch Moonlighting. I've now seen one episode because I watched it before listening to the podcast.
Oh, nice.
I listened to the episode with y'all while I was walking through the park on a beautiful sunny day. It was magnificent, and I would love everyone to go back and listen to it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was so excited to finally do Moonlighting too. So that's good. Yeah, and Kevin was a great guest for being like a moonlighting expert, which I really needed. So that was really perfect. Yeah. Oh, that rules. Did you have a question for me?
Oh my gosh, I do. Oh, no. I wanted to know what your favorite opening credits were.
Oh God.
I should have given you some prep on this.
That's such a me question. I don't know if you even realize this, but like, this is a thing that like Walloping Web Snappers people probably know about me. I know Doug really knows about me because that's like so much of my conversations whenever we start a new show or a new season of a show is just about the opening credits the whole time.
Also, if you say Buffy, you have to say which season.
Yeah. I mean, I do like I do like the simplicity of the Buffy credits. It is literally just scenes flashing very rapidly in front of you that happen to go wrong with a really fast beat. I have a lot of love for that. Even it's not inventing anything new. It's just like perfecting a very basic way of doing opening credits. I think my favorite season opening credits of Buffy, I think it would be season 3 because I think that's the perfect fusion of everything that it does. It has the best spotlight moments of each character when they have their I can't think of words, their cast members' name
montage.
When they have each individual cast members little mini montage, or that they have the best scenes for each of them. And it's also like that's the one season where it's like the classic original cast with some new additions as well before everyone starts leaving. I really like those opening credits. The Smallville opening credits post season 5 are really fucking good. I think like the first 4 I have a soft spot for, but they are very etched in the time of like 2002 special effects and stuff.
Yeah.
The 2005 credits, they really go hard on like, this is a sci-fi superhero show now. We're no longer a teen drama anymore.
Same song though, right?
It's always the same song. I think I've never confirmed this because I've never seen anyone else talk about it. But I think that there is just the slightest remix of it where the drum beat I think is louder than it had been in the first 4 seasons. I think so. Because I've watched montages of the Smallville opening credits on YouTube too many times. And I really do think when you get from season 4 to season 5, they up the drum beat to make it sound a little more like an action song than it originally was.
Nice.
Like it's very subtle, but I think that they do. And I think that those credits are really good. I think the season 7 credits are the best out of that era because that has just really fucking phenomenal like shots. And they also, I think, switch the casting order correctly where Rosenbaum gets second billing and Allison Mack, as much baggage as around her, she deserved having billing above Erica Durance
correct.
At that point, unfortunately. And I think that season's credits are really good. God, those are like my top 2 go-to, but like there are so many other good ones for sure. I'm trying to like glance at my my shelf to see if there's any TV shows that straight memory. There's a lot of ones that are like iconic that I appreciate, but like I don't stick with me personally, you know.
Right. I mean, I think that we're both big fans of the After Party, and I think the After Party, both seasons 1 and 2 have phenomenal opening credit sequences. It's a good song. It's boppy. And the way in which each sort of genre is told across the opening credits unveil is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do have a couple more answers. Okay, it's all flooding to me.
I love it.
The original iteration of the 4400 has really cool credits.
Wow. 4400, famously a DVD I saw at probably Barnes and Noble and said, this looks like a television show I would like to watch. And it was in its shrink wrap until I finally gave it to a Goodwill like 3 months ago.
It is a very underrated show.
It's on the list.
It's a very, very good, and it's a pretty quick watch. They're really 4 very short seasons. Not the most satisfying conclusion ever, but like reasonably satisfying. But yeah, I really like that show a lot. The opening credits are really, really good. And the original Alias credits are so simple, and I love that it is literally like J.J. Abrams just made it on his like Windows Movie Maker like the weekend before that show had to be put together, and like there you go, like, and you can tell, and it doesn't matter because it's so fucking good.
And he was like, "I'm gonna go on to do so much lens flare, you all don't even know. I'm gonna make this my whole personality." That's what he said.
Buddy, why didn't you just stick in television? You
oh my gosh,
stick in television.
Rambaldi.
Yeah.
I would also say that I don't know if you've seen it. It's a Brazilian show on Netflix called The 3%. It has
yeah. I've seen that show.
It has great opening credits.
Yeah.
It's kind of sci-fi, kind of futuristic, little Art Deco going on. It's a cool series too. If you're put off by it, the English dub is tolerable.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't watch much of it. I know I saw a little bit of it when it first came out.
Yeah.
What was I just gonna say? I just had one that popped into my head. No, it's not your fault. I shouldn't have just been interrupting you. I don't remember what
we were talking about. Lens flare.
Lens flare.
You couldn't possibly be about to say Lost had great opening credits.
Jeez, God no. Can you imagine what a Lost opening credits would have ever looked like? Oh, I know it was.
We had one. It was word art coming at you.
right. Yeah, like actual opening credits though. Like I went like an old school. Like what song would they use? Like what pop song would Lost use?
No, I love that. I would like to cut this with you next weekend. I would like us to scrap any recording of Gimmicks and just make an opening sequence a la 90s WB for Law.
With that like gigantic ass cast too. Like how would that even work? God, I wonder what 2004 pop song they would have used for that. This will be a thing that I think about for a long time. No, I was going to shout out BoJack Horseman. I appreciate that their opening credits, like it did genuinely change like every single episode, but not in a way that was radically different. And I think in ways that were often subtle. And I think that it was really like well handled. Like I don't necessarily need credits that change with every episode. Like I do kind of like the monotony and comfort of credits that are like the same every episode unless it's specifically supposed to be different. But I think that BoJack did it really well, and I think effectively, to really mark changes that were actually happening in the show as things were progressing through the credits.
I'd also like to give a little love. I think that the series went way off the rails, but the opening credits for Game of Thrones were good.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and deserved to be recognized. Like it was good art.
Sure, yeah, it was good art. For sure.
Yeah, it had a job to do, and it did it. And honestly, like using your credits to also do some world building was a good idea. And I say, bully to you, if only writing had been just a little bit better there at the end.
Sure.
Well, Derek, it was a lot of fun answering some questions from folks. We'll do another mailbag episode eventually. So if folks have any questions or comments, you can always reach out to us, and we would recommend following this podcast at Gimmicks Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Or you can email us any questions, feedback, or corrections. Although I don't know how you can correct answers that we gave to your questions, but I look forward to reading them. I'm sure we
said something wrong. We almost forgot Luke Wilson. So like,
oh my gosh,
there's something
that is true.
Wrong.
That is true. That is true. We went on a whole journey there. Luke Perry, Owen Wilson, Luke. Oh my gosh, I can't even do it now. Luke Wilson. I just want to talk about Luke Perry. I don't know. But that email address is gimmickspodcast@gmail.com. Derek, anything else from you?
You can find me on Twitter at Derek. I almost said no to your question.
No.
No,
where can we find you, Derek?
You can find me on Twitter at Derek B. Gale. You can find my podcast, Walloping Web Snappers, which does deep dives in every Spider-Man cartoon ever made, as well as Falling with Style, which does we did look at all Pixar films chronologically. Why am I fading right now? I can't even do plugs. This Q&A has broken my brain. You can find those things at wallopingwebsnappers.com or wherever you get your podcasts. What about you, David?
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter or any other social media space as DMuma. There's a 22 at the end if you're looking for me on Twitter. And if you want to show your support for the show, you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/Gimmicks podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe on all Pathclass platforms. And until next time, friends, keep being weird.
I should have jumped in better. That's fine.
Nope.
We got that.
Nope. We bounced around a lot.
We got it.
We got it. Print it.
Beautiful.
Always be yourself. You want to be sad, honey? Be sad. We'll write it out with you. And when you get finished feeling sad, we'll still be there. From now on, let me do the smiling for both of us.
Okay, Mom.
I said you could stop smiling, Lisa.
I feel like smiling.